Boogie2988 just gave the least hard-hitting interview I've ever seen in my life. He glossed over abuse, allowed Michael, aka KidBehindaCamera, to make excuses for himself and deflect from the questions that were being asked of him, and even coach Michael into making himself look like a better person. My goal here is not to slander Boogie or Michael, but to compare everything that was glossed over in the interview to actual video evidence of abuse, as well as footage of Boogie's acknowledgement that he has seen this video evidence of abuse. I definitely apologize if this video seems scripted or if it seems like I'm putting on a YouTuber voice or something like that, but it's the only thing that's going to prevent me from just screaming into the microphone with frustration. Before we get into the interview, I just want to make sure that you guys know that Boogie has seen the videos depicting abuse. I asked him this question on Twitch. I paid him $3, and I asked him about 2 specific clips that depicted abuse. I'm going to show you those clips, and then I'm going to show you his response when I ask him if he's seen the clips.
He's making a list. So be good for goodness sake.
Throw shit at me! Throw shit back! You don't throw nothing at your goddamn bottle! You understand me? You don't gotta be a queer! What? A queer! He ain't queer! He ain't goddamn queer!
I keep putting that pressure
Try
back.
this shit! I'm tired of shit! All y'all ever do is buy them gay shit!
Gotta get paid to get laid, y'all.
Ever seen the video where KidBehindaCamera shoves his 2-year-old nephew to the ground by his face and then shoves his shoe in the same child's face until his head is forced backwards? Also the one where AGP throws a toy truck at a 4-year-old's head.
Yep, and I did talk to Mike about that stuff, and Mike's answer was very simple. Those were sketches.
So right there, Boogie admits that he has seen these clips and he accepts Michael's excuse that it is just a sketch. But I do not consider physical contact with a child like that to be sketch comedy. I'm assuming that Michael thought this was funny, but here's a spoiler alert. They do not reference a single clip of emotional or physical abuse throughout the course of this interview. They reference one clip in which Grandpa calls the kid homophobic slurs, but they fail to mention that right after he calls him homophobic slurs, he throws a toy truck at him.
So at the end of the day, all I did was playing Shane Dawson and get in his face and scream at him about stuff.
And I know this might seem obnoxious, but I encourage you to watch this video all the way through so you can see the lies contrasted with the evidence, and also share this out to whoever you can, because the video is currently sitting at 8.9 thousand likes and 731 dislikes. So this video is being eaten up by everybody in Boogie and KidBehindaCamera's audience as truth. They think everything has been cleared up. And it's also interesting to note that this video was a sponsored video by privacy.com, and Boogie chose to link that in the comments.
I want to talk about the allegations of abuse, okay? Now, to the audience watching, I already know the answer to this question. This is for your edification.
So right off the bat there, Boogie acknowledges that he already knows the answer to this question. He's completely willing to accept that answer, and this interview is just for the benefit of you people at home to establish that KidBehindaCamera and Angry Grandpa have done nothing wrong.
But I want you guys to know, and Mike already knows this, I grew up in an abusive home. My mom beat the ever living hell out of me, but the verbal abuse, the stuff you see in the grandpa videos, that verbal abuse, that happened as well. Smashing stuff, destroying something she bought me just to take it away, just to punish me, but even the physical abuse, in my case, sexual abuse happened to me as well. So when I watch these videos, they're like, is there an abusive family? Everybody in that family is abusive. Dad was abusive. Was Grandpa abusive?
I mean,
define, how was he abusive? Like what?
Yeah, define the word abusive. You know what I mean?
Okay, did he hit you kids?
Never me.
Yeah.
He hit my brother, and he hit my older sister Jennifer.
So right off the bat there, Michael is not being completely honest with us. I'm about to show a clip where Michael admits to an event in which Angry Grandpa at best accidentally abused Michael.
And Dad's like, I said shut the fuck up! And he takes this jar and he throws it. And my sister ducks. And then here I am. And it crashes in my fucking face.
So Angry Grandpa never abused Michael, but he did once intend to hit his daughter in the face with a glass jar, but instead hit Michael in the face.
Like, listen, I'm not gonna lie, I've never hit that. We've talked about stories where Dad jacked Jennifer up against the wall because she ripped $1,000 cash and he got pissed. We were very poor. Like, I don't know how we got that $1,000. I think there was like a lawsuit, like a car accident or something.
Right.
And Jennifer, like, ripped it.
Yeah.
And Dad jacked her up against the wall.
So in that example, Jennifer tore up $1,000 and Grandpa jacked her up against a wall. But here's an account from the mouth of Jennifer in which she did much less and Grandpa did much worse to her.
It was so freezing because I was always like this skinny little thing and I never had any meat on my bones. So what I would do is I would take my blanket and go and turn up the heat like full blast. And then one day my dad finally got tired of it and I was laying on the air vent and all of a sudden all I hear was, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck, stupid fucking bitch. And then like Daddy just like kicks the shit out of me. I'm sorry that I'm cussing, but this is what happens. And then, my dad like kicks the shit out of me and then yanks the blanket off of me and says, goddamn bitch, Jenny, picks me up and throws me against the wall. Legs go flying, arms go this way and go that way. I was like, holy fucking shit. And then, so, my dad, this was back when he was, mean and drunk, I know, he didn't mean to do it. It was just the alcohol talking.
Well, see, I hear you doing something that I always do, which is, it sounds like you're making excuses for your dad. Now, I think that's something that gets people really riled up. Because I make excuses for my mom, too. And I know where it comes from, but they don't. They don't understand that.
Yeah, I mean, right? Listen, all I can say is, it was never excessive like they try to say. It was never like, he wouldn't use weapons. He wouldn't physically abuse us.
So I'm glad he didn't use weapons on you guys, Michael, unless you consider a glass jar to be a weapon, and then you say there was no physical abuse, which is obviously a blatant lie based on what you just said.
He was very angry.
Right.
He did a lot of messed up crap. I've told people on video, Christmas morning one time, somebody ate his cheese, and he slung butter against the wall, took the tree down, threw it in the front yard, and went into his room for the rest of the day.
And this is like one of the trailer parks he lived into. This wasn't like a nice house, with Christmas presents filled in the house. I mean,
we never lived in any nice houses.
What does them not living in a nice house and living in a trailer park have to do with anything here, Boogie? I don't understand why you're diverting from the topic of abuse to then talk about financial situations, but you guys will find out why he does this later in the interview.
If you could imagine how poor a family could be, we were poorer than that. Mom wasn't working, Dad was living on Social Security benefits, and that went to the bills and left nothing for food. We lived on government assistance our entire lives, man. We had absolutely nothing. And you're right, it is an excuse. Dad being poor and 900 pounds and angry about it, he took it out on his kids all the time. He was a raging alcoholic. Now, there was a day when all that stopped. Around 94, 95, he took his last sip of alcohol and quit cold turkey. He was like, I'm never taking another sip again, and he didn't.
And he got better, right?
So congratulations to Angry Grandpa on quitting drinking in the mid-90s, but that's clearly not when the anger and abuse ended, just based on the video evidence we've seen. And we do have more video evidence of emotional abuse at the hands of Michael, but I don't understand why Boogie is saying, but he got better right here. That's totally a leading question, not what a hard-hitting interviewer does at all. He constantly sets Michael up in this interview to make excuses for himself.
So at the end of the day, all I did was playing Shane Dawson and get in his face and screaming him about stuff.
Tremendously better, man. Night and day.
Because the way you portrayed him on YouTube, and I think this is the source of the allegations, the way you portrayed him on YouTube, he was such a nice guy, he was such a good guy, he was capable of doing such nice things. We see videos of him giving money to charity, we see him giving money to fans, he was spoiling those grandkids to some extent. So is that all fake? That's what I want to know. It's fake. I don't care if the rages are fake. I don't care if he's genuinely smashing your PlayStation. What I care about is he hiding some secret? Is he beating the hell out of you? Is he beating the hell out of the kids and then trying to make up for it? What's the situation with all of this? Is that stuff fake? The charity stuff?
So I like how Boogie initially poses the question of, is the charity and the spoiling of the grandchildren a ploy to cover up bad things that are going on behind closed doors? But then he sort of switches to this question of, is the charity and spoiling fake, allowing Michael to say, no, it's not fake, we're actually good, generous people. But that does not make up for what you did behind closed doors. I believe the charity is real. I believe that the spoiling is real, but it doesn't make you a good person.
Like, not only is the charity stuff not fake, I didn't know people were even saying that, by the way.
So I'm just going to cut past this section where Mike talks about specific acts of charity he's committed. They're all real, I believe them all, and they're all great. But then Boogie starts to talk about the dichotomy between people who do amazing acts of charity in the outside world and then come home and beat their kids. And it's actually a decent section of the interview.
Because I think this is what kindled our friendship, is that my mom was very similar in a lot of ways. That behind closed doors with me, she was a really rough person. And here's something else I want to say. My mom was an angel to her grandkids. We'll talk about that. But to me, she was a monster. But then she taught preschool, and she was an angel to these kids. She would go out of her way to spend her money to buy them Christmas presents, to spend money to make sure their families had Thanksgiving. She would intervene and get these kids to get off welfare, the parents to get off welfare and get real jobs. They would get the parents who were not having income on the welfare. They would call child services to get people out of the home if they needed to. And so everything I've ever learned about your dad, he had that same dichotomy. He was very, very good to everybody else, but when he came home to you guys, he was pretty rough.
I mean, that goes for, like, mostly just the two oldest siblings.
Right.
You know, me and Dad, I was his shadow. He was only great to me. I was the one that didn't smoke. I was the one that didn't drink. I was the one that was good in school, listened.
So Michael kind of excuses it because it wasn't happening to him, even though in his own words in a clip we showed it did happen to him at least once. But then he starts to get into how when Angry Grandpa got older, it got better.
So I would go with him to flea markets and sell on the weekends, and we would do anything we had to do to make a buck. We were ride or die together, and that's how it was till the end. Me and Dad had a great relationship till the end. My sister Kim, he and Kim had a better relationship than the other two. It's sort of like as he got older, it got better. So with my first son, he was in the, with my brother Charlie, he was in the epitome of his alcoholism. He was at the height of it. And he was angry all the time. And then my sister came, and that's a second mouth to feed, and there's no money to feed it with. And then Kim comes, and he's starting to get a little better. And then I'm here, and all of a sudden things are changing. And his whole demeanor is changing as he gets older. Like, he's softening as he gets older.
So yeah, Angry Grandpa definitely got softer as he got older.
Y'all got him being a queer.
What?
A queer. He ain't queer. He ain't goddamn queer.
I keep putting that person
Try
back.
this shit.
And I'm sorry if it seems like we're exclusively focusing on Angry Grandpa here, but they're pretty much exclusively focusing on Angry Grandpa in this interview. They haven't even brought up the idea that Michael could be an abuser yet, and we have a lot more videos of emotional abuse at the hands of Michael that we just haven't been able to talk about because they're focusing on Angry Grandpa. I'm sorry that this video is going on so long, but there are just so many lies to refute with evidence.
Basically,
So at some point he had full custody of the grandkids.
Yeah.
There's 5 grandkids total. You have custody of all 5, or is it just 4?
4 of them, yeah. He had custody till he died.
And so my question is, Michael, did they see that side of your dad other than on the vlogs, other than on the Angry Grandpa videos? When he was alone with those kids, was he throwing stuff? Was he yelling at those kids?
So I've only shown one clip ever of this. It was in a video where we were talking about some problems we were having with Tina Dandridge, a lady that was in one of our videos. And in that video, I showed a clip of Dad at one of Jacob's graduation ceremonies. He was graduating the 1st grade.
Yeah.
And Jacob's walking across the stage. I'm teary-eyed thinking about it. He's walking across the stage, and he's like, "All right, Jacob." What they didn't know is Dad went to every PTA meeting. Dad went to every award ceremony. Every event at the school, every parent-teacher meeting, every call he showed up to, those grandkids were his life.
The absolute deflection in that response to Boogie's question, is Angry Grandpa abusive and angry behind the scenes off camera? We've seen that he's abusive on camera, so I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We can't really say. But then he's like, oh, he went to every PTO meeting. He went to the kids' graduation. Like, that has nothing to do with the question, and Boogie does not call him on it whatsoever.
And do you think there's a chance people weren't calling DSS on us?
I can imagine they probably got called at least a couple times.
I wish it was a couple of times. We had a standing appointment with DSS.
Really?
The Department of Social Services.
Like how many of your fans do you think called?
Thousands per month.
Jesus, really?
Thousands per month were calling. He's angry, Grandpa. He did this. Today he broke plates. And DSS would show up. They have to respond to those calls. So every time they would come to our house. And they would investigate, they would talk to the kids, they would talk to Dad, they did their due diligence. They never closed the case because there were so many calls coming in.
Right.
And they never took the kids once.
And now you have custody of the kids.
Full custody. Yeah, I have custody, and I've branched that off to my sister. I had permission from DSS for them to live with her, but I've retained full custody until she can, like, get it back herself.
It absolutely disturbs me that DSS did not intervene in this situation. I can't imagine them seeing the clips that I've shown previously and seeing the clips that I'm about to show you and not doing anything about this situation. What I'm about to show you are examples of extreme emotional abuse that Michael inflicted on these children in a series of videos where he plays Michael Myers. He creeps up behind one of his nephews with a knife. He locks two of his nephews in a bedroom, having them play violent video games, and then does not allow them to leave. And then in one case, he creeps up behind Angry Grandpa with a knife. Angry Grandpa gets mad, turns on him, and it makes his young nephew start sobbing uncontrollably.
Michael!
Boy, what happened? You can go.
Motherfucker! You want to scare me? Let me scare you, okay?
Okay.
You won't fuck with me, motherfucker. I'm gonna give you to it.
Jimmy! Jimmy! Buddy, it's Bubba! Buddy!
So after seeing those clips of Michael emotionally tormenting these kids and shoving his shoe in that child's face and pushing him by his face onto the ground, I can tell that Michael is an abuser. And even if he doesn't think he's doing it, even if he doesn't think any harm is being done, damage was done to these children for sure. I believe there's a guarantee that damage was done to these children. And let's continue with the interview because it just continues to be messed up and Boogie continues to not be able to take a hard stance on anything.
Yeah. And so that leads me to the $1 million question, Michael. And this is something I get accused of all the time. Boogie, people who are abused are abusive.
And here's another situation where Boogie's being irresponsible by claiming that people are saying something that they aren't saying. Nobody claims that all people that are abused are abusive. Yes, people that are abused have a higher chance of being abusive, but it's not a guarantee. You don't have to continue the cycle. Nobody's claiming that all people that are abused are abusive, Boogie.
And I'm certainly not a perfect person, man. I have PTSD, I have anxiety issues. I can definitely disassociate. I can be not a great person sometimes. Michael, are you abusive, man? Are you abusive to these kids?
Well, first, I wasn't abused as a kid.
We already know that that is not true.
Oh, that's right.
I was
you're saying.
I was the golden child, right? So, everything that Dad did for those grandkids, he wanted to give them what he couldn't give us. We had nothing growing up. And he wouldn't, like, we had nothing.
Yeah.
And when we finally were able to have something, he wanted those kids to not, like, live without. Because we lived without so much.
Right.
And I continue that now, you know.
Because you got custody of the kids. I asked you once, like, how much of your money you'd saved. And you said you had hardly anything saved.
I still have hardly anything.
Because we were talking, you had a video saying you were, like, going broke.
Yeah.
And I called you up, and I'm like, Michael, is this real? And you're like, yeah, dude, I have barely anything saved. Tell them why that is.
Here's another situation where Boogie sets Michael up and says, tell them why that is, so that Michael can tell us how much monetary help he's given his family. But did you notice something before? Michael completely deflected the question of, are you abusive to the kids? He immediately goes into, I wasn't abused as a kid, and, you know, Grandpa just wanted to see the best for those kids. Grandpa wanted to see the kids not have to go without like we did. What does that have to do with the question of you being abusive to your nephews?
Tell them why.
I mean, I take care of everybody in my family. When Dad was alive, I was paying all of his bills. Not to mention, he gets half of the YouTube money.
Right.
He gets half of that. Like, a lot of people don't know that. Hey, Michael's stealing from his dad. Dad got half of the YouTube money. Part of it had to go up for taxes. And then a lot of what I had, I was paying for my mom's life. I was paying Dad's bills. My sister in New York needed help sometimes. I would give her money.
Right.
I take care of everybody in my family that needs help. And friends. There were friends who would say, hey, can you help me out? I don't like seeing people, like, without, because I had so little growing up. So if I can afford it, I'll give it. You know what I mean?
So obviously the bare necessities for these great kids, obviously the clothes and the school clothes and the school supplies and the food and stuff, that you spoil these kids too. I've seen.
Yeah.
They get the gaming systems, they get the iPads, they get everything that they genuinely want, right?
Yeah.
But that's not to, like, cover up something awful going on. Like, so
is that what people are saying? Like,
I don't know. To be honest with you, it's a question I'm asking mostly because that's something I'm accused of all the time. Like, Boogie must have been abusive to his ex-wife because he was abused, so obviously he's abusive, right?
So I genuinely think that one of the main problems with this interview is Boogie is just drawing far too many parallels between him and Michael. He's very much comparing himself to Michael all the time. He thinks, oh, Michael started from nothing, I started from nothing. We've both come up, it's amazing, and we both get accused of being abusive because we're abused as children. We both get accused of being abusive because we're giving our family members all of these nice things, but you are not the same person as Michael, Boogie. I honestly want to believe that you're better, and I do not believe that you are abusive in any way, but I think you're being extremely irresponsible in defending your friend here. If you've actually seen those clips I was talking about in that text-to-speech donation, and this is how you handled the interview, you are being incredibly irresponsible. So in the next portion of the interview, they talk about internet trolls and how everyone that's calling him out on the abuse is just trolling, just dislikes him as a person and wants to see him crash and burn. Then they talk about his relationship with his girlfriend Bridget, or his wife Bridget. I'm not sure if they're married or not. They started dating when he was 21 and she was 15, by the way. I just felt like that's worth noting because it's extremely sketchy and weird, in my opinion. And then they talk more deeply about the relationship between Michael and Bridget and how sometimes he'll say really, really mean things to her that he knows are going to hurt her deeply. Like, he really picks at her because he thinks the relationship is going to end and he just goes all out in these moments. But that could be a subject for an entire other video. So let me know if you guys want to see that in the future. But today I just want to focus on the child abuse. So we're going to fast forward to a clip where they talk about angry grandpa calling his grandson homophobic slurs in a video, but then they neglect to talk about the fact that he throws a toy truck at this child later in the same video.
What about, like, there's one video where he's one of the kids is playing with, like, an oven, and he called the kid gay. Like, is that how he acted in real life, or is this he's hamming up for the video?
Those were the early YouTube days where we were hamming it up heavily.
Right.
We had just started getting our first money ever. Like, we'd sold Grandpa Ruins Christmas to break.com for $1,000. We're like, oh my God.
Oh yeah.
We can buy dinner, we can pay the light bill, we can do stuff for the first time. So we went on this crazy, like, trip of video, just nonstop, constantly. And in one of those videos, there was like, it's so long ago, I barely remember any of this, but I do remember one of my nephews got like a kitchen set or something for Christmas or something. And I think he did make the comment, "It's gonna be gay." Now, Dad was in support of gays.
So them just hamming it up for the video, that makes sense. Grandpa calling his grandson homophobic slurs, it's just hamming it up. Him throwing a truck and other presents at his grandson, that's just them hamming it up. They made $1,000 off of that video. Break.com should also be ashamed for buying that video for $1,000 and putting it on their website when there was clear abuse being depicted. Even if it was all under the premise of a joke and Grandpa was like, "Oh, I'm just jokingly being homophobic and throwing toys and presents at my grandchildren. This is all a fun time." Like, that's super messed up, and the idea that you would think this is hilarious to watch just absolutely disgusts me. And of course, right after that, Boogie just continues to make excuses for Grandpa and Michael, and I think that's the end of the portions of this video that reference abuse, and I was so disappointed when they referenced the homophobic video and did not mention the actual abuse that occurred seconds later. I just can't believe they did not touch on that. So the point of this video was not to tear down Boogie2988, although I am extremely disappointed in the way that he chose to handle this interview. The point of this video is to call this out and make sure that the truth is out there when people are lying to our faces. I believe that those children that experienced that abuse have never been validated in that experience. That experience is purely the norm for them, and they've only seen their uncle get rich and famous as a result of some of the things that he did to them. And I'm not necessarily trying to ruin Michael's life either. I just want it to be addressed. I want Michael to say, "I made videos that were incredibly harmful to my nephews in order to make money." I mean, he directly said, "That Angry Grandpa Ruins Christmas video made us some of the first money we ever made, $1,000. He was directly profiting off of the terrible experiences of these children. And yeah, maybe that money helped him buy nicer clothes for his kids, or buy them an Xbox 360, or buy them a Nintendo DS, but that does not make up for what actually happened on camera, and I can't imagine what could have possibly been happening off camera. So this time I am going to heavily encourage that you share this video with whoever you can, because we were just blatantly lied to. Boogie allowed and encouraged Michael to lie to us and to manipulate us into thinking that nothing bad has ever happened on the Kid Behind a Camera or Angry Grandpa channels, and that everything is totally fine in that household. Feel free to watch my previous videos where I show the full response from Boogie to my text-to-speech donation, and my original Kid Behind a Camera and Angry Grandpa video where I show a few more clips depicting the abuse. I hope that you guys are skating on to the best of your abilities. I hope that you drink more water, and please do not brush abuse under the rug.